And welcome back to the Beaned Out Podcast, everybody. My name is Kieran. This is Josh. And today we have our good friend Harry, also known as Kimoi Coffee, also known as Moonwake Green Buyer, also known as, what are you, CFO of BQ?
Floor manager.
Is it BQ LLC?
Because of all the grinders in Garia.
Anyway, it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for coming and visit. You just had a seating of Coma today. Did you enjoy Tanat?
That
was good coffees.
Good coffee.
Yeah. Okay. Good coffees.
I like where they're at, what they're roasting.
Nice.
They're sourcing excellent coffee.
Nice.
It's mostly like owl today.
Yeah.
It was like all African coffees, and then one Yunnan.
Yeah.
All coffees that like I'm pretty familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
They all tasted great.
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest questions right now that I have had for you specifically, I don't know if we've talked too much about, is how have you grown into your role as a green buyer for Moonwake specifically? And I feel like that's a heavy question to start with, but I feel like that'll help direct the conversation that we want to have with you featured specifically.
A lot of it was by kind of serendipity. Moonwake being my friends at first, and they were just starting out. They needed help sourcing, basically, and I was there as someone who was their friend, who was heavily a coffee enthusiast, no professional experience in coffee, and I did not expect myself to do this, but I wanted to do something kind of more in one more step above just being in that space where, as a coffee enthusiast, you're looking at roasted coffee, you're looking for like specific lots, processes. The level beyond that in my head was to actually just help a roaster look for greens. So in this case, it was interesting because I had this very like nice experience at Say, where I just watched the man roasting like a bunch of samples, talking about sourcing, and I was like, oh, I can try and do something like that.
And who is the man? Sorry.
Our good friend Lance at Say.
Nice.
I got the pleasure of like hanging out with him once in New York, and that like was inspirational to me, and that I just wanted to try this out. And then Moonwake was at a point where they needed the help because Ming and Mabel, they were just two people at the time. They had to manage everything and also roast everything, and they were roasting out of the co-roast space that was an hour away. A lot of difficulty just balancing all that for them, and I was able to start out. Even it was like in the beginning when I started out, it felt like I didn't know anything, and I'd lean on their experience. But it seemed like they were still just learning too. So like it wasn't much of a different experience between us. So I learned a lot through just trying it out. Like just nowadays, green buying is online shopping. You can start out as online shopping. You just contact.
Sweet Maria.
Yeah, that's level 1, right? But you learn to like contact exporters, importers. Well, first you start with importers first because they're domestic, and then when you get more inspired, you start reaching out to producers directly, which seemed to be even more fun for me to like, now I'm talking to people like Tamaru or like Jose Chivas from Panama, or just like all these other Colombians like Dairo Garcia. These are people I have that I talk to on WhatsApp now, which are like you kind of form like a relationship with these people, and it becomes, you start building on these like relationship as a green buyer, and that's where I felt like I enjoyed a lot of coffee. Like I think the connection aspect of coffee is really fun. Connecting with you guys has been because of coffee, and then I'm also expanding it into connecting coffee with like people and producers.
Harry, maybe we could back up a little bit here. I'd love to hear, what you did before coffee, and then, what was the coffee that kind of made you transition into this, like specialty coffee in general, and then what made you want to work in coffee?
All right, so the background of me is that I still now am full-time an engineer, a mechanical engineer. And because of COVID, I got introduced into doing specialty coffee. And at first I didn't think I'd like dive this deep into it, but then it was like, oh, this is at some point when I was brewing coffee for myself, I realized, oh shit, this is the hobby for me.
Okay.
And then I moved here a couple of, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And then it became this like, I got even deeper and deeper into it, and to the point where like, well, why not take this opportunity? Like, had it not been for Ming and Mabel or the timing, I wouldn't be able to explore this part of coffee for myself, whether or not it's something I want to do long term. It's something I want to do now. So I just went for it.
And where are you at now?
I am sourcing or help sourcing for Moonwake a lot of great coffees. I've gone to meet a lot of people, very interesting people, like, you know, key players in Say, there's people in Hyuna, you guys, because I've decided that I really wanted to be so proactive and engaged into the communities.
You know, aside from Moonwake and being an engineer, you also are very active in Bay Area Coffee.
Yeah.
All right. You are one of the board members.
Yeah.
Maybe tell me, you know, something that excites you about the Bay Area coffee community, being part of Buck, and what's it been like as a Bay Area Coffee member, but also essentially like an admin, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was crazy because when I started in a coffee, I was looking, and I was still living in SoCal, LA at the time. I remember like finding people on EAF and like saying, hey, you want to like brew coffee together? And they were like, this is kind of weird. Am I inviting you to my house?
Really?
And are you going to kill me? But it was interesting because people were like kind of receptive to it. And then when I moved here, we had our first back meetup at Robert's house. And then that became like this thing that built upon itself where we started getting more members. We had bigger meetups. And then it just became really nice to be helping this community, and me feeling so like thankful and engaged. I really wanted to kind of give back. So some of the times you'll see me in a server trying to like moderate in a way to make sure people are inclusive, and like also just trying to be like someone.
Well, so maybe I want to stop you there and talk about the inclusive like, part of it. I feel like that is one of the biggest things that like maybe a lot of folks don't quite understand to a degree about Back is that like, yes, we're a local community. Yes, we focus on majority people in the Bay Area who are like actively contributing to the specialty coffee community that we have fostered and like nurtured here. But I think at the end of the day, just what you said about, hey, do you want to taste in person? That doesn't happen in a lot of like international communities, I think. Or, like
even in
a lot of bigger
LA,
communities. In LA,
they don't have that many meetups the way we do. I mean, it's crazy that you guys, like some of these guys are just like, hey, let's have like 10 people come over to my house. I don't know half of these guys.
Yeah, but like we're just gonna taste coffees together, right? And I feel like that's a big part of like why what makes Bay Area Coffee right now so special is that we are capable of not just like talking about coffees online into like open, like into like the open air. Like we have to like there is like an inherent need for us to like calibrate and align in person and like taste coffees together and like check each other. It's like, are you really like, tasting that? You know,
like you can argue with each other all day long about what I'm tasting, but
if you're not tasting together in person,
literally the same cup,
experiencing the same cup of coffee,
so many things can go wrong. Like even the humidity can like affect things.
So like that for me is the biggest draw, but also the biggest benefit to having like such a strong local community.
I will say this. I think, and sorry, I don't mean to kind of take the spotlight away from you. I think Bach has been great even beyond coffee. I think, just generally speaking, we've seen just a lot of friendships being built within coffee, but also beyond coffee. I think we've seen people just forming partnerships like us, obviously, but even beyond ourselves, right? I'm not saying Moonwake came out of Bach, but they were also like Bach members.
They're part of it. Yeah.
Other people as well have gone on and had their own journey, since Bach, and have formed partnerships. So I think, it's been a community that, even though it's coffee focused, it is much more than just coffee. At least for me.
There's a bunch of friends.
Yeah, for sure.
I 100% agree with that. I think that like obviously it's a social group, but like it goes deeper, mostly because like there's so much overlap in coffee with other hobbies, with other enthusiast groups in general.
There's so many of you guys are into cameras.
Yeah, like we're all like, everyone's like into photography, everyone's into fucking like, I don't know what else, like, I don't know, like
a bunch of the members were also from the keyboard community.
Yeah, Keebs. Yeah. Well, dude, I didn't even realize. That's crazy. I was in Tokyo with Joseph, and he knows like Ifan and Jordan Chet from like Keebs.
Yeah,
and, like
yeah,
I was
they're from
like,
Keebs.
I had no idea. And like I only know all these guys from coffee, but then I also like realized, oh, you're into keyboards too. Like, oh yeah, like I have that too. Like Chelsea too. Like she's into Keebs. Stuff like that, right? Like all these people who have overlapping interest in like other like enthusiast groups. Like that was something that like I gravitated towards. But it's also like, and let's be honest, like Discord culture is sometimes kind of weird, but also like very like supportive, I think.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly supportive.
I think
in
that's
my
kind
opinion.
of like the coffee community that's
right.
kind of been like a scene.
Yeah. Or other enthusiast communities too, right? Like there are people who are like,
something about the coffee community I've been hearing about is like particularly like more wholesome than other like hobby communities.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
All right, we're gonna shift gear a little bit here. You've talked about yourself, you've talked about how you got into coffee, about where you're currently at. I would love to hear, some of the more like meaningful things that you worked at in Moonwake, or some of your favorite coffees that you've sourced, whether it was this year, last year, during your time at Moonwake. And then I would love to hear just what you would love to see change in specialty coffee.
I think the craziest thing is like me and Pepe exchange very like casual and like really wholesome remarks to each other, and we form a partnership of like a lot of sourcing. You would like go through a lot of greens beforehand, but Pepe has become a partner where he would just tell me, hey, I have coffee, do you want some? And I say, yeah, for sure. And it's like I have a lot of trust in what he sends me. He also like keeps in mind that I like want like some of his newer process stuff. So I've gotten like a wave hybrid Seagra from him. I don't think anyone's had that right now.
Okay.
I've had a wash Typica Mejorado from the Finca Soledad, which is not very common. So he always sent, and we also had the double honey from Seagra, double honey Seagra from Finca Soledad. Those are like him because he understands that I like just want to have this like, he knows I'll just buy it.
Sure.
But he also trusts him. He will like sell me something good to that right caliber. And those are the most I would say is like the most interesting relationship I have towards of like a green buyer relationship. Obviously there's also like all these other great coffees we're getting. Like I've got my first SO9 coming because I asked my importer to get it for me, and he went on it and he found like really good. Yeah, this is the only cup that say. That was really good, and it was from the COE number 4 winner this year, but his wash lot. So number 4 was a natural lot, but he also made some wash that were like killer. So we have the stuff like that, and then obviously all the aloe was crazy good. Aloe was always good, but he had like this that wash coffee he got. Say had it. We also got it. That Aloe Village main station wash. No, the main station wash. That one was killer. That was
The white honey was also
that was really good.
Yeah.
That wash will kill it.
Yeah. For sure.
And that is also a relationship that I also have with Tamaru because I've like see him every year at Expo. So those are like all the cool little coffees that I've like been getting in the last like year.
Nice.
Things I want to see change are like this. I think right now I want like a better concise processing description because literally I got a shot earlier of espresso, not from here, but someone got a shot of coffee, espresso. They said, oh, it's a 1 day anaerobic pink bourbon. And in my head, I was like, okay, that can mean a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then as soon as that shot got like onto the table, I smelled it. I'm like, oh, there's high intervention. Like,
sure.
Like, so it's not, it's a education thing. Like I knew because as a green buyer that what a pink bourbon is Colombian and therefore like it can mean so many things.
Is it Diego pink bourbon?
It was not a Diego either. It was La Riviera pink bourbon.
Oh, sure.
But
And sorry to stop you really quick.
La Riviera, isn't it?
They do bio,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Finca Milan's associate.
Yeah.
So La Riviera.
Yeah. But
Juice in it.
but like the communication aspect of it is when the person at the register was telling me what Sprill was on what coffee was on Sprill, they just said, oh, it was a 1 day anaerobic pink bourbon. That to me is not descriptive of what that expectation would be.
Right. So and like and correct me if I'm wrong in like extrapolating what you're trying to say, but like I think that what the emotion that I feel for that is that the barista has a responsibility to also be educated on like what's happening with like the processing. Right. And I feel like a lot of baristas potentially don't have all of the information available to them sometimes.
But part of it,
but it's also their responsibility to go look for that.
But my problem is that a lot of it is not standardized in a way where it's easy enough for people to at least read a label and think, oh, there is high intervention. That's why we're coming with these like new phrases. Like I'm saying high intervention is not something someone said last year.
No.
Or advanced processing or like
as a side note, I think I got that coffee for our subscribers from Mame.
Yeah.
And it went into the natural extended processing, even though it's a anaerobic washed. I don't know if this is the same exact one that you had.
It was the same.
But I already knew when I bought it. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be funky. But just because of like the farms that are associated with it, so I kind of know, even though the process is not fully detailed in descriptions, or because of like where you're purchasing it, or because it hasn't been fully articulated on the website, right?
But it shouldn't be like insinuated because we know it's insinuated.
I know that's bad. I agree.
Yeah. Which is, I wish it was just more forefront. Like I'm okay with these coffees, right? They taste good in their own right. They have their own place in the coffee world. I just want to have that expectation.
So like, I think beyond just talking about understanding like what you're buying, right? Like I feel like you're trying to tailor a menu to a demand that exists out there, right? Like from my own like preferences, I know that I like just like clean natural coffee, which is like some funk and stuff like that, right? But at the same time, right, there are folks out there looking for highly processed, advanced processed coffees, right? Because it's exciting.
High punchiness,
like
it's fun. That's way more.
A different level of dynamics, a different profile of coffee. Sure, yeah.
Well, I'm coming from this from even the green buyer level.
Sure.
Because I would get offered samples a lot of the times. I don't want to dig too deep into like, especially when you're talking to producers or exporters who have English as a second language. You don't really. It becomes very difficult, and I don't want to kind of feel like I'm nitpicking too hard and say, "Hey, I don't want any of this. I don't want any of this."
Sure, yeah.
So I wish, if they were trained in a way, or there was more standardized in a way that they know to explain that, oh, there is like some inoculation, or they had to do thermoshock. Like just recently, like in Peru, they got SO9, right? That is the tradition. That is the hype right now.
Yeah.
And traditionally,
Well, is it recent? Is it the last two harvests they have it like had SL9s?
the
last 2
lore
years.
of SL9 is that they've always had it, right? It's not like it's something new. They were calling it Gesha Inca, and then even then, some people were still just calling it right now, still calling it Gesha Inca, or even just short forming it as Gesha. If you look at COE Peru listings, none of them said SL9. None of it says Gesha Inca. They would just say Gesha.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's kind of like, well, it kind of comes from a thing where like people have to understand and know how to label it.
Right.
And it has to be digestible. I mean, I don't have the answer to this, but it's been a frustration for me getting samples where it's just like, oh, I thought this said washed.
Right. Well, I mean, and then like so we're not necessarily looking for transparency because they're being as transparent as they can.
Understand, yeah.
But it's more you're looking for a standard
Exactly.
of like so that we can align to that standard.
Yeah, because they know they know to put natural or wash because that's how they finish the coffee.
Right.
But like that's only like how they
That's only a part of the processing that is going on.
And then it will flow down because once the culturally and the producers know how to describe it, the exporters will tell the roasters, and then roasters can now like properly inform the consumers about everything too.
So around this topic, is this something that gets lost in translation with the exporters, or do you think you're having that issue even when you're communicating directly with the producers?
I think I'm seeing it both. And from the exporter, it is like on the responsibility of everyone down the chain, and whoever is more diligent on it tends to be able to get the information more upfront for a lot of it.
And I guess, once you obviously try these coffees, right? Let's say you get a yeast inoculated coffee that it wasn't necessarily in the description, and you could obviously like taste the yeast, or you could taste somebody's processing. How do you go about communicating that?
Like to our customers? Or
no,
just like
the exporter or potentially the producer to get a better understanding of the processing method so you can actually articulate it.
Yeah. So like for me, it's because our menu has categories, right? It has a Nova, has a Fruit Forward, which is more terroir. And then there's we have Wilton category now because there's a special spot for us now.
Like a Wilton?
Yeah, like Wilton just gets its own category.
Wow. Nice.
So, because before it was in Fruit Forward, but in Fruit Forward, we're keeping it more terroir focused. So we've given Wilton its special spot because he's our mainstay.
Nice.
And then we have the exploratory line, which has like all the yeast inoculation, co-ferment type of coffees. So I have to keep it in mind when I source these things because the demand is different. But then if I taste, say, in a cupping round, we say, oh, that coffee definitely tastes like there's some sort of inoculation or something. Co-ferments always are pretty good about telling me that ahead of time.
But you also don't want to assume, right? You want to be able to clearly communicate.
I will ask. I will have. I know there's other like roasters who will do the same due diligence where they'll like, oh, if I'm going to buy your coffee, I need to make sure I know what this processing, and I like think it's yeast inoculated, and if I have to like set the right expectation, right? Like if I'm going to put this coffee that I suspect is yeast inoculated, but you don't say it's yeast inoculated and it's not divulged to me, I can't like mislabel it or like make it not upfront so I can't even buy it at this point because like, well, I don't want my fruit forward people our terroir focused people to like get like be upset. I don't want the exploratory people to like be confused why there's like, I was like, does it really have anything? Like, what do you mean it's normally like processed? And it's like, I want to make sure these things are communicated, expectations and communications are done properly. And this is like kind of a lot of like why I'm so obsessed with it now.
So you kind of talked about what you want to see change, about, kind of like early life and getting into coffee. I'd love to hear what you're most looking forward to this year and next year, whether it's in coffee, outside of coffee. Is it an origin trip? Or, what are you looking forward to?
Well, I mean, at this point for me, it's
community.
It's just doing what I've been doing. Yeah. I feel like I've hit the peak of where I want to be at coffee.
You think you're at your peak right now?
At my peak. I don't
really,
because I don't want to coffee was never supposed to be my long-term thing.
Mm,
So
okay.
at some point I will leave the industry and just like I've already thought a lot of times where I'm just like I just want to brew coffee
Okay.
and like not care about everything else.
That's fair. I mean, yeah, I think that goes further into like, what motivations people have for being in coffee in the first place. And like, honestly, if you're in it to have fun, but like everybody has a different definition of like what fun is. Just like everybody has a different preference for what coffee they drink, right?
Yeah.
There's a different reason for getting into what you're into. So I definitely understand that.
I will
for
say
sure.
I do want to have a few more pop-ups.
Yeah.
Like host a few pop-ups myself.
Dude, you should. That
now
sounds
that
fun.
I have this like all the
Wait,
information.
what pop-ups are you doing, Harry? Maybe enlighten everyone.
So I'm trying to set up because Say has helped me, has inspired me on this journey, and has given me a lot of good mentoring. I do want to try and pop up with a bit of Say, and of course have some Moonwake with it.
Yeah.
I mean, like Say has been incredible the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I think we all can agree to that. I remember telling everyone about like how good Say has gone when I cupped with them last year. But yeah, I just want to kind of think in a way share like what I really enjoy about coffee, and I think my enthusiasm does come off very well. So I do want to like show this, like pass on this enthusiasm to terroir focused coffees in a way that like I want more people to enjoy it, because I get it. Funky coffees is super easy to enjoy and like appreciate, but then there's so much like of this elegance in wash coffees that I only got so deep into it because of like I got to only after trying so much of it with like very good people. But then like it takes a lot of this like tasting together that like is how I want to be my vehicle of like passing down the torch.
Can you maybe talk about what you have planned and when potentially?
April, I think will be some pop-ups. I'm gonna pop one up at Moonwake, which is fun, right? Since I work at Moonwake, it's nice to kind of show my appreciation of Say.
We're also gonna have a Say seating in April, so interesting timing. We're gonna have a Peru all Say seating.
Dude, Say's killing it, so
Crazy.
I mean, I do really love their sourcing. I think I want to try to work closer to Lance to kind of align these
and it's
insane
crazy 'cause
seatings together.
He's taking his time to like talk with us like newbies, right?
Yeah.
I don't really see this happening from like, not that like they aren't, but this is what to us is very apparent.
But I think
helping
it's
us.
more of like the level of alignment. I think it's, I think he's taking the time to talk to people that align with his vision and align with his taste and align with how he wants to see things executed in a sense, or at least this is what I think. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've really enjoyed hanging out with him in New York.
Yeah, we all went there together. That's crazy.
Yeah, it was great.
That's such a serendipitous thing. Like we didn't even know we were all going to be in New York at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. And I'm excited to see him in World of Coffee in San Diego. I think it's going to be cool. I know we've been kind of talking to Doug about potentially collaborating out there. So that's exciting. We're still like fine tuning the details.
There's a lot of exciting things happening in April.
But yeah, I'm really excited. I've been kind of like really dialing my say for April. So I'm excited.
Yeah, all right, guys. Thank you so much for being here, Harry. This was
I mean, the seating was great today.
It was I'm
Aloe,
very happy.
Kamavindi,
Yeah.
everything was dialed wonderfully.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it was a lovely time. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast today.
Of course.
We'd love to have you on talking about other things more in the future as well.
I have too much to talk about. For
Yeah, I mean, no, but there's always like
working near that long.
No, but it's not even that. It's like just like the amount of stuff that you've already been exposed to and that you've already contributed to in the community. I think that's something that like everybody, at least in the Bay Area, has felt or seen. So I think that's a big thing for us to finally like sit down and have a conversation together with you about that kind of stuff. But yeah, thank you guys also for listening today. This has been Harry's podcast on the Beaned Out Pod. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you soon.